Hi, this is Sherry Mumford with Stamping at Last. Today's video is a tutorial on the Still Scenes Shaker card. This is a really fun, playful card, and I think you're going to enjoy this one. Okay, so first I'm going to show you what materials you need to make this card, and I'll give you a little bit of a closer view so you can get an idea of what that looks like. It will shake and have little sequins and stuff in the middle. So the materials you'll need are the very vanilla 8.5 by 5.5. That's going to be the base of the card. You'll need for the inside of the card 5 and 3 3/4 right here. This is for the background in the snow globe. Now if you have a scrap piece of paper, you can just cut it out of that. But if you need to measure it like you're doing a group class and you want to measure pieces for people, I would measure that 3 by 2 3/4, as well as this little square. This little square is what you're going to stamp that cottage on. Then you'll also need 2 pieces of real red cardstock measured at 5 1/4 by 4. Now one's going to be on the outside and one's going to be on the inside as a border. You'll also need your designer series paper, and for this I used the Twill Tidings out of the new holiday catalog, which I absolutely love. You'll need a piece of crumb cake, 2 3/4 by 1 1/2 for your snow globe. And same thing, if you have scraps, you don't have to measure it out, but if you're measuring it for a class, I would give them at least that size. Now, for this card, you notice this snow globe is green, but I'm going to make the one we're making now, I'm going to make it red. I think the contrast will look nicer with red. And then for the greeting, 4 by 1 1/2, and we're going to stamp the greeting on that. You'll also need a piece of garden green cardstock, 2 1/2 by 2 1/4. Now, in addition to this paper, you'll need snowflake sequins or any kind of sequins you have. I love these, they just go good with the set. And then a snow globe shaker dome. And it looks like this. So you'll also need those for the project. So the first thing I did was score and fold my 8.5 by 5.5. I scored it at 4 1/4. I used my bone folder to press it down to make sure it's really flat on the surface, and I'm going to set that aside for a moment. The next thing I did was I took my Twill Tidings designer series paper and I used this die. This die is from the Snow Globe Scenes dies. So I decide where I want that snow globe to be on my card. I'll put this out so you can kind of look at it as well. So I taped it down so it wouldn't move. I taped it with removable tape and I ran it through the Big Shot. So now I'm going to take this off. Then the next thing I'm going to do is line this up on one of the red pieces of cardstock. Just make it really even on all 4 sides. Tape it down just a little so it doesn't move. Then I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to outline this. Just like this. Make sure I got it all. Okay. Now I'm going to set this aside for just a moment. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the snow globe shape out of one of those pieces of cardstock that was 3 by 2 3/4. And it's going to come out like this. Then I'm going to take Pool Party ink and I'm going to sponge this globe. This is going to be the background. Now on this card, I wish I would have gotten the background a little bit darker. I used a lighter shade of blue, But for the one we're doing on this project, I'm going to use Pool Party because I think that will turn out a little bit darker, and I think I like the way that looks. I'm going to grab another piece of scrap paper and just do it on here because it's going to be a little bit messy. So I'm just going to sponge on it. I usually try to start off of the piece that I'm sponging and make little circles all the way around. Already I'm liking that color better than this one. I feel like you can't go wrong with Pool Party. And you'll sponge it just however dark you want it to be. Yeah, that's looking great. Okay. Now I had used a piece of garden green cardstock, 2.5 by 2 1/4, to cut this out, to cut these trees out. The die I used to cut out those trees are part of the Snow Globe Scenes dies. And you notice it has polar bears, a reindeer, a little church, a house. This is a really cool set. I'm going to make a lot of cards with this. So now that I've got that background done, sponged, I'm just going to glue this right there onto this globe shape. And I'm going to line it right at the bottom. Then, on that other piece of Very Vanilla cardstock that was 3 by 2 3/4, I had stamped this little cottage. I used the Tuxedo Black ink, Memento, to stamp that. And then I colored it. And then I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. But just so you know what colors I used for this background, in case you're interested, I used light crumb cake for the cottage itself, dark daffodil delight for the windows, light smoky slate for the sidewalk. Move this out of the way so you can see it. I used dark real red for the door. I love how the red door looks. I used garden green for the tree and that shrub. And I used Cajun Craze for these trees that no longer have leaves. So I colored those and then I ran it through the Big Shot. And you could do it in either order. And the die that cuts this out is also part of the Snow Globe Scenes dies. So it cuts this out perfectly. So next, after I run it through the Big Shot, I'm going to adhere this right on top of those trees. Like that. And I'm just going to use my Tombow glue. I'm just going to line that up towards the bottom of the base. See, this way you get those trees in the background too. I love the way that looks. Now, I got the idea to do this from a video I saw on YouTube made by Stampin' and More. It's not in English, but she does such an excellent job of instructing how to make this card that I had absolutely no problem following along with her. So I used her idea, but I used the Twill Tidings for my background. When I first saw this paper and the Snow Globe stamp set, I knew that I wanted to make one of these cards with that Twill Tidings background. And I love how it's turning out. The next thing we're going to do is adhere this into that little slot that we drew on this red cardstock. So I'm just going to use glue. and line it up exactly in that outline that you drew with the pencil. Okay. Now when I use the snow globe, I'm going to attach it and then put it over like that. So the next thing I'm doing is grabbing my embossing buddy. I'm just going to kind of put this around inside there a little bit. This will help prevent some static from those sequins when you put them in there. It'll help them keep them from sticking to the globe. Then I'm going to wipe it off some. And after a while, that white powdery stuff will go away after a while, but it really makes a big difference to keep those sequins from sticking to that. Next, I'm going to adhere this to this. Now these snow globes have adhesive around the edges on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to remove the one from the top. Then I'm going to lay the paper, the designer series paper, right on top of it and line it up with that bottom. Push it down. And then just press the paper down so it's stuck really well. I'm just going to kind of test it, see how it's going to look. It's going to look great. So the next thing I'm going to do is add the sequins. Snowflake sequins. These are so pretty. They do kind of get all over the place, so you have to kind of flick them off your fingers. I use just a couple pinches. I don't want to get too much because I want to be able to see that house really well. I don't want to cover it up with snow. So like see, some of these are kind of flying around. I'm going to try to pick them up and get them back onto the card. They're so cute. There's snowflake shaped ones, stars, circles. It just makes a cute little snow scene. Next, I'm going to remove the adhesive from the back of this, and then I'm going to put glue around the edge and put this on top of that. Yep, there's another one. I'll be finding these for days now. Every time I make one of these cards, I find little sequins all over the place. Then I'm also going to put some glue, like I said, around the edge here to hold this in place. I'll just put this right over the globe. So cute, so cute. Now I think I'll go ahead and adhere this to the front of the card. You could use Tombow or, oh, see there's a star. Try to save that for later. Tombow makes it really easy. I'll just put Tombow on the back of this. Not the best lighting in this room. There's lots of shadows. But I hope you can see this. Okay. Now I used crumb cake to cut out the design of the base, and I used Real Red to cut this out. Each piece was 2 3/4 by 1 1/2. And the dies for these are also part of the Snow Globe Scenes dies. There's the base, and there's the decorative part. Now to put this on, I'm just going to put some Tombow on a little piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to use a toothpick to strategically place ink, just in different places. It does not have to be over the entire back piece of this. This is easiest for me to do it. So just take a little bit on the tip of the toothpick and just put it in several different places where you get it all the way around. Sticking to my finger, so should do a good job of sticking to the paper. Okay, it doesn't take a lot. Then I'll put this right on top of the red background. Then I'm going to use dimensionals to put this on my card. And I'm going to pop it up right underneath there. See, already I think you can tell. I think the red looks so much better with this. Just the contrast really makes it stand out. I'm just going to use some of these pieces on the edge. I'm going to put it right there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is stamp Christmas Wishes. This is from a different stamp set, but I love this greeting. I can see myself using it for so many cards. It's part of the Toll Christmas stamp set, Christmas Wishes. So I'm going to stamp it also in the Real Red, which I did. And I think that's going to really make it pop as opposed to that green that I used on the sample. So I stamped it in red, and this stamp set also has the dies that go with it. So it will cut that out. So I already ran this through the Big Shot. And I'm gonna put this on with dimensionals as well. And then I'm going to put it right under the snow globe. Doesn't that look great? I love how that looks. Then on the inside, I used, on this one I used red ink, but I'm going to put red cardstock on the inside. And so I'm going to stamp the greeting in Garden Green. The greeting that I'm putting on the inside of this card is also from Still Scenes. May the timeless message of Christmas fill your heart and home with joy today and always. I really like that. So on my very vanilla cardstock, 5 by 3 3/4, I stamped it with the green. And see, I think that'll help it stand out. This is one of the cutest Christmas cards I think I've ever made. I absolutely love it. Another thing which I think would look really cute, if you had a family picture you wanted to put in there instead of this background, you could put a family picture in there and have it inside the snow globe. And if you search Stampin' Up! Still Scenes Snow Globes on YouTube and Pinterest, you're going to be amazed at how many different versions of this there are. Very, very pretty card. I think anyone who gets this will be very impressed with your card making skills. I hope you have fun with this set. I know I did. And honestly, I can't wait to try a few of the other patterns, different backgrounds, and just different ideas. Until next time, happy stamping.